Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to have this session today. We're going to be talking about our account-based virtual workshop that you're going to be attending here in just a minute. But before we begin, we want to take just a minute, set the record straight on what is all this talk about account-based. And to do that, I've got my friend, my colleague, my mentor, president and co-founder of InsideSales.com, Ken Krogue.
It's good to be here. Excited. This has been a debate long being held, hasn't it?
Well, it's worth it. I think it's important that we are taking a few minutes at the beginning to kind of set the record straight, get some context, and get everybody ready to go here.
Yeah. You know, I get asked all the time, what's so cool about account-based sales? Why is it so hot right now? Why is it such a big deal? And, you know, for years at Inside Sales, we would run up against a problem in the system architecture.
Yeah.
In Salesforce, for example, in almost all CRMs, leads come through and they're a composition of the company and the person, but only a single person.
Yeah.
And we all know that when you sell to businesses, now you've got multiple decision makers who are involved in the decision.
Yeah.
So account-based, everything now includes account-based objects.
Yeah.
And so you've got the account, you've got the many-to-one relationship with multiple decision makers and people involved in the process that all roll up into the same account. And that leads right to the definition of account-based sales, which is sales to multiple decision makers.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And if we keep that in mind, that those decision makers have different agendas, different needs. Marketing has different needs than sales ops, than finance, than IT. But there's been some really powerful research. Again, our friends at Corporate Executive Board, Matt Dixon and the guys up there, they do a wonderful job. Rolled out a new book called The Challenger Customer.
That's right, that's right.
And I know you've highlighted the research. I talk about it all the time. But the first key to the research was they found that the average sale in business to business has 5.4 decision makers involved in the process.
That's right.
And boy, we got to take that into account. Now, in our own world of selling, you know, especially at the enterprise level, which is where account-based really plays, you learn that probably 80% of the people in that process can say no to the sale, but only 20% can say yes. And we learned from our own Dave Rudnitsky and the power of finding the pathway to power of the people who can say yes. That's where you spend the majority of your time. But you still got to take the time to make sure the people who can veto the sale are taken care of with their needs and that everything's being accomplished as well. So
interesting. So you've got a couple points there. So one is the buying group has changed.
Yeah.
So we got 5.4 decision makers that you've got to be somehow involved in the sales process. And then the definition, I mean, it's always important to know what is account-based sales and, you know, what is it not. And your definition one more time was?
It's really simple. It's sales to multiple decision makers.
That is simple. Now, a lot of people wonder this concept of high velocity versus the account base. How does your definition fit with those two ideas?
Well, you know, the high velocity model, and we really pioneered that, is just what it says. It's speed.
Yeah.
It's making more calls faster. It's responding quickly to inbound leads. High velocity is both inbound and outbound.
Right.
And it's a transactional model usually. But what you and I have found in our sales as we've run the numbers, there's still multiple decision makers even in small accounts.
That's absolutely true.
But it's only maybe 2 or 3. The really big accounts, you might have 15.
Yeah.
You know, I remember our biggest was like 19 decision makers we had to work through, and in 9 different departments. Yeah. So you've got to map that out. But if you, those don't really compete, I don't believe.
Yeah.
But what we've thought of is we've sort of contrasted account-based as the small business transactional model. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
You got to move fast. You got to respond to leads. You got to make more calls. Whereas the account-based model is more the enterprise. You got to map the territory, you got to profile the people, find their needs, see how they fit, find the pathway to power, and then engage slowly and carefully. And you got to build rapport with each person in that organization.
Yeah, see, the thing I love about that is rather than trying to break these two models out, high velocity is about speed, and account-based is about targeting. Bringing the two together becomes even more powerful than the two separate.
Yeah. When you think about it, Amazon, they took web-based sales to a whole new world when they personalized the web page based on your previous purchases.
But they still managed the speed and the quantity.
And the speed, they wanted it right now.
That's right.
So
the best of both worlds. You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and so there's really levels to account-based sales as well. There's your basic definition of sales to multiple decision makers.
Right.
Then the next level would be to personalize the sales to those decision makers. Now that's a whole new level of complexity.
Right.
Just like Amazon personalizes their website, you would personalize your sales approach to the needs of the different decision makers.
Okay.
Then, our John Miller and our friends at Engagio, they coined the phrase account-based everything, because they realized you gotta specialize the process between marketing, business development, sales development, sales, and account management, and you got to make sure that you're selling to the needs of the different people in that multiple decision process all the way through. So, but then there's one more point of complexity that our friends at Corporate Executive Board figured out in a research study in their latest book. And they realized that if you sell too much to the individual, you'll tend to fragment them and you won't close the sale.
Yeah, right.
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
So in other words, if you sell 5 different sales methodologies to the 5 different decision makers, they don't unify together and end up making a decision. So you got to have an overarching methodology where you bring them to a common conclusion.
Right.
They've got to have a common purpose, a benefit that's bigger than all their individual needs. So you've got to personalize the who, but you've got to build consensus on the what.
Yeah, I love
the
that.
result you're trying to focus on.
That's a great line. Personalize around the who and the why,
and
potentially.
The why,
and then really start to build consensus about what the results are, what you're selling, etc.
But what Corporate Executive Board found is if you just personalize the who and the why and don't bring it to consensus, you actually lose more sales.
You start to get splintered.
Gain.
You splinter it.
So you got to get them to the end result that they all agree on.
Interesting.
And that's what you remind people of. That's a bit counterintuitive, but it changed the whole model.
That's a powerful principle. So we've got a little bit of, why we're even talking about account-based sales. We got the definition and broke that down. Now there's some, any misconceptions around account-based sales that you hear?
Yeah, it's sort of funny. Account-based sales has been around forever.
Yeah.
It's target accounts.
Weren't you doing this 30
named
years
accounts.
ago?
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. But the difference was the systems didn't support it.
That's right, yeah.
And again, hats off to Engagio, our own infrastructure. We realized we needed to move our dialer technology, Seek and now even Playbooks, to be able to work in an account-based model that handles many to one.
Yeah.
So that we can build a personalized cadence for each of those 5 or 6 decision makers.
As you approach them, right.
But still unify them to the end result of making a purchase decision. So I think it was really the technology
that kind of brought that final change.
That launched this new big push on account-based sales, because now we can actually do it. And Trish Bertuzzi, she's got a really cool model around account-based revenue. And then, account-based everything.
Account-based sales development, we've got them all, right?
Marks all the way through the process, and we have to recognize those great contributions.
A lot of interesting things going on. So as we wrap this up, one of the things I feel like a lot of people are often asking is, who is this right for? So we've got the definition and a little bit of why we're actually talking about it, but should everybody be doing it? Should we just be having some people do it? Or how would you coach a company?
Well, I think from the big picture, the high velocity model, both inbound and outbound, is still really the starting point for small and lower mid-sized business.
Yep.
And Large and enterprise class organizations are really an account-based model. But don't think that they oppose each other, because once you've got account-based, you still can apply some more high velocity. Speed is, when we did our research study that changed the world of lead response management in 2007, we researched both small and enterprise companies, and the effect was the same for both.
That's right. Yeah.
So the research does not say they're separate.
So it applies across the board, some of the same principles.
It really makes sense. High velocity just means speed, and account-based means multiple decision makers.
Yeah.
And the normal,
so bring the best of the two worlds
bring the best,
together.
but emphasize the multiple decision makers at the enterprise and the speed at the SMB, and those are good starting points.
Interesting. So as we think about today's session, we've got some great speakers. We have some great sponsors, and I want to make sure that we highlight them and the contribution that they've provided so that we can all listen to this free. We've got HubSpot, we've got Pattern, we've got Metadata, we've got Engagio, we've got Vineyard, we've got Consensus. Great sponsors to make sure that we can all enjoy this event free of charge and get educated on account-based sales. But the agenda is full packed. Can you give us a little bit of an insight as to some of the sessions we can potentially be attending?
Yeah, we really believe, and we're launching some cool stuff with our training around why, what, and how.
Right.
And so we wanted to start today with showing you the why, the definitions, the meaning behind this account-based sales model. But the what and the how, we're going to leave to some pretty awesome companies. I mean, Salesforce is here. We've got HubSpot. We've got Sales Hacker, Engagio, Terminus, Chet Holmes, Sales for Life. Amanda's one of my favorites. She's awesome.
Yeah,
but we got some powerhouses, and they're going to give you tidbits of how they approach the account-based sales model in the how. So why, what, how. It's got some horsepower. We're going to show you a couple of fun things around trends. And let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm going to be taking notes.
I am also very excited. I think this is going to be a fantastic day for our account-based virtual workshop. Now, please do remember, we have 4 key tracks. So once you're done with this session, choose one of the main tracks. We'll have account-based marketing, account-based sales development, account-based sales, and then account-based customer success. So you can watch this session and then dive into one of those tracks and then participate those as you please. So it's going to be great. A lot of information, a lot of great sponsors, a lot of great speakers. So with that, let's get at it.